You said Critical Drinker's movie is bad? Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was not a good film. Like, I tried to give it a shot. Because, like, I'm not, like, a fan of Drinker's content. I don't really like his channel at all. Hold on, I'm not gonna be able to, like, pay attention. But, you know, I don't mind him as a person I'm not, like, friends with him or nothing. I think I could count on, like, one hand how many times we ever talked, and it was always on EFAP. But yeah, I mean, like, I have no negative opinions of the guy, and I was like, all right, yeah, well, fuck it, I'll give this a shot. Well, that was a little bit delayed. But anyway, yeah, that was like kind of a vintage bad. Like the kind of bad that you saw like 20 years ago, and like everyone was kind of like, yeah, this is bad, let's not do it anymore. And then they decided to do that again. The dialogue was particularly awful. Some of it seemed to like rely on knowledge of his books that I just don't have. There's this whole argument at the beginning between like there are three main characters where they get into like some heated argument, and it's like really cringe, partly because the actors are horrifically bad. Um but also because like I don't understand the source of the conflict like even remotely. A lot of it's like hyper cliche. There's a lot of shots that are clearly rule for cool, but like don't make any sense at all. Like their whole infiltration into like the enemy base is like total dog shit nonsense. Because they have that shot of like them walking right in front of the massive spotlights, and it's like, okay, so like they're gonna be seen, right? Of course they aren't. There's only like two guards out front. Instead of shooting the guard, he like runs up to him to pistol whip him and then shoot him. And it's like, why? You had your gun out pointed at his head already, and pretty much you only ever get like lethal shots in this movie, except for that one time apparently. uh there is shown to be a sniper on the roof, with Drinker playing a scout right next to him, no less, toward the end of the movie. But apparently, said sniper was not looking at the illuminated field that whole time, even though they were standing right out in the open. It started giving me like War for the Planet of the Apes vibes. Like when that little girl was just walking around a brightly illuminated cell block and just was not being seen at all. I guess you could like say like the fucking super ugly dude was like distracting him, but it's like, so there's only like one sniper, and the other scout that Drinker was literally playing wasn't keeping an eye on that area. Sounds kind of stupid. Uh, yeah, I mean, when you really pick it apart, it is very, very bad. In terms of like other projects I've seen from like that general crowd of people, like I've uh I've seen a bit of that Jawbreakers comic. That was pretty bad. Um I haven't read it, but I've heard a lot of things about that Rippa comic that kind of sound pretty embarrassing. Um and then obviously, I mean, I've talked about it before, but Shad's book is literally the worst fantasy book I've ever read in my life. In terms of everything I've seen from like that crowd of people, like it's not even close. Drinker is that his movie was obviously self-evidently way better than everyone else, but it was like 3 out of 10 bad, maybe 4 out of 10, kinda. There's some really wonky editing in there too. Like there was a part where some chick like kills a dude, but it cuts to black in a really weird, cringe way. It's like right at the beginning. And it was just kind of like funny, and was like, oh, why would you fucking do it that way? Ugh. Weirdly enough, he played into tropes that I'm pretty sure that he has criticized multiple times. Like he had like a very, very small woman take down like fucking action hero, giant military man. That guy, of which got not a single kill in the whole movie. He didn't do anything. He just stood there, looked intimidating, and then got his ass kicked by a chick that's like 1/8 his size. It's so weird. Yeah, it's bad. I mean, what's weird is that like I feel like it's well beneath what I feel like drinkers should be capable of. You know? Now, like, look, I don't want to say, oh, this is indicative that all of his books are bad, because it wouldn't be the first time I've seen an author try and do film and do it badly. I mean, Stephen King tried to do film and made like one of the worst movies ever. But he's a phenomenal author. But screenwriting or being an author doesn't necessarily translate to screenwriting. And I mean, I've said it before. Like I read like 50 pages of Drinker's first book and didn't like it. I found it mostly boring. But I can't speak for his other books. I would assume he'd get better. I haven't heard great things about him, but I mean, I can't say anything personally because I haven't read them. So I don't want to say that he's necessarily like, oh, this means he's a bad author too, because I don't know. It could just be one of those many cases where a novelist is really not a good screenwriter. But just like the amount of things that I've seen him like criticize that are present in his film, and the amount of things that are just like I don't know about that dialogue at all, man. It's just very, very bad. The action was like mostly okay choreographed, although there was one funny scene toward the end where like the lights shut off, and it's like kind of a blink and you miss it thing, but I watched it a couple times. And on the second viewing, when you see like the red E lights come on, like there's the guys in the background are like doing fuck all, and one is covering his eyes, and it's like the lights are off. What are you doing? It's and it's also incredibly generic. It feels like a very short version of movies that I saw like decades ago and were boring then. It's weirdly uninventive. It's not trying to do anything different. And, I'm not expecting like full movie quality or anything. I'm comparing it to like other YouTube pilot episodes, like that Uncharted fan film with Nathan Fillion, or the Lackadaisy pilot, or the Space King video. And it's just like his movie is like so far beneath like all of them. I don't know. I did not like it. I thought it was just quite bad. Not like horrifically awful in every conceivable way. There was like some things that were like kind of fun. Some of the shootouts looked all right. Although, why was no one ever taking cover at any point of time in the whole fucking thing? Everyone was standing out in the open like they were video game characters on easy mode or something. One chick gets hit by an RPG, and it was pretty funny. She also just like at the end of the movie, they're like going up. He's like the main character man is like following the chick who's like very blatantly just like a knockoff of Ilsa from Mission Impossible. And well, I don't know, maybe she was written before that. I don't fucking know, but same character essentially. And she hid her bike underneath like a tarp, but she didn't even really hide it that well because it's like barely over the bike, and it's like right next to the road where it's clearly in sight of everybody, and it's like there's a giant pile of logs like literally right next to you. You could have just hid it behind there. You could have hid it in the cornfield right next to it. What the fuck are you doing? And there were two end credit scenes, one of which I guess kind of makes sense as an end credit scene, but you didn't like get me invested in like the main thing, so I don't care about the first one. But then the second one takes place after that, And I think most people would not assume there were two end credit scenes. And the second end credit scene, I don't understand why it even was an end credit scene. Like, it should have just been the end of the movie, because it literally takes place directly after the previous scene. There's like these flashback sequences that absolutely do not have any purpose to the plot of that little movie at all. It feels like he was trying to do way too much shit at once, and really should have just told like a self-contained, low stakes story, you know? But I feel like he was trying to attach it directly to his books, to its detriment, because a lot of the things I felt like it's hard to say because I haven't read the books, but some of them felt like I had to have read the books to understand the interaction going on. And if it wasn't that, then it was just incredibly sloppy writing. And I don't know what he was even going for. Yeah, it was not good. I don't feel like it's really going to do him any favors when he makes reviews of things and people criticize him, and then uh, he tries to say, like, if he tries to make a criticism of something, and then that very fucking same thing that he criticizes all the time is also in his little movie, it's a little bit like, oof, you know? And that's like that's a thing I notice about a lot of indie creators in general. You see this in some booktubers where they'll criticize something in a book, then they'll write a book, and then you read the book, and it's like, hey, all those things you criticized are still in your book. There is like a different kind of skill, I think, to criticize something and to make something, which isn't to say that, like, I think all of his criticisms are illegitimate, of whatever. I mean, I don't really watch his videos because I don't really like them, but I don't think that his movie necessarily makes what he says illegitimate, but it does kind of, I don't know. If he starts like saying like, "Oh, you shit writers," you know, and it's like, okay, but let's look at your let's look at your attempt at film, which was, I mean, really, it wasn't even the budget that was the problem, because like it looked mostly all right. I mean, it was noticeably cheap, but not like bad, you know? There was like one shot of like hideous CGI, and that was like really funny. But other than that, it's not the budget that was the problem. It was mostly the writing and really insistent bad soundtrack and bad actors. But those things, I mean, I can kind of get past that if the writing is all right, but the writing was not all right. To be fair, Drinker didn't direct the film; he only wrote it. Well, yeah, that's the thing. Like, I didn't care too much about the direction; it was the writing, and I don't know how good of a performance you can get out of anyone with that kind of script. It's as if writers see it in others but can't see it in themselves. Yeah. Now, granted, I say this, it's like all harsh. I don't have any ill feelings toward Drinker. Like I said, I've never had a bad interaction with him. But yeah, that movie, big thumbs down. Very, very big thumbs down. Have you seen the Shining miniseries from 1997 written by Stephen King? Great book, awful miniseries. Yeah, I did. I wanted to see it because I was like, oh, it's supposedly more like the book. It is more like the book, but not